Hi, today I'm going to be talking to you about what my faith means to me and how I experience God's presence. Um, a few weeks ago, I felt God calling me to give up Facebook because I realized that it was an addiction. Um, I hadn't been fully focused on my goals, I hadn't been fully focused on my faith and why I put God as my number one. Um, So I kind of let God slide from my mind. He didn't completely slide from my heart because I still wanted to serve Him, but I was letting society get in the way of my ultimate goal, which is to serve Christ. Um, you know, when you're in the real world, society always says, oh, you're in your 20s, you gotta get a man, gotta figure out what you're gonna do with the rest of your life, gotta get the perfect job or whatever, but um, the only way that I can truly feel at peace with my life is if I have God as my number one. Without Him, it just feels so dysfunctional, and I never know, where I'm supposed to go, and I don't have that assurance that I'm going to be okay. Um, I've always felt called to write about my faith. It's just something that I've worked towards. Like I've always written things. But it wasn't until recently that I realized I need to write about my faith. That's how I'm going to witness. Um, but also, I need to talk about my faith, um, why I have it. So, God, as my number one, I feel like I've seen changes. I've seen the blessings that He's put in my life. Like, you know, without Facebook, I noticed I can spend more time with my family, and there's really nothing more important to me than my siblings and my mom, and um, because right now, every day with them is just amazing, and I may not always show it, but in my heart, they mean so much to me. Um, I've been like I've been disappointed by people before. Um, but I know I can always have somebody to talk to, and I've been provided them by God. Um, God's provided me with so many people to talk to. Um, and when I was 17, I lost my dad to kidney stones. And it made me realize, you know, anything can happen on earth. You can easily fall away from God when you experience a loss like that. I did for a while. But then it eventually brings you back to Him because you realize that no one on earth can fill that void. Um, that's why I went back to God. Well, yeah, I got stronger in my faith after a while because eventually I realized that, you know, that wasn't the end. God is the end. Um, so I needed to keep on listening to Him, and I needed to keep talking to Him. And now I can say that I don't know what God has in store for me. I have to accept it. It's I have plans for myself, but they're vague and they change constantly. God already knows His plans for me. All I have to do is fully rely on Him. So when I don't feel like I can do that, I remember what my necklace says, fully rely on God. And I fully rely on God because I just remember what He's blessed me with. and then I know everything's gonna be okay. And I always like write prayers, so I put them in a prayer box. So if people need me to pray for them for something, I'll put in a prayer box and I'll go over them, and I'll pray for people who need prayer. And then, they'll come up to me and tell me, "Oh my gosh, God did this in my life. Oh my gosh, thank you." But then I realize it wasn't me, it was God. Um, because I wouldn't have done that if I wasn't doing it for God. Um, you know, I really like it when people tell me that God answered their prayers, because it shows me that other people have been noticing the same thing I have, the blessings that God gives us. Now, one thing that I struggle with is patience. When I try really hard at something and it just doesn't go my way, at first I question, all right, well, what did I do wrong? Here's the thing that a lot of us tend to forget. It's not always what we did wrong, it's what God has planned for us. Sometimes we work for something that isn't meant to be ours. Sometimes we want something that is meant for somebody else. Um, Sometimes I've heard, God gives and takes away. When God gives you something that you didn't initially want, it's because it's probably better for you than the thing that you wanted. For instance, if you like somebody and they don't like you back, it doesn't have to do with the fact that you did something wrong. It might have to do with the fact that you two just weren't meant for each other. But maybe in the future, somebody else will be meant for you. Or maybe there's a good job out there, you know? And if you have one thing that you're not ready for, you know, God will take it away so that He can show you what is in store for you right now. And it can really be exciting when you realize, oh, I, I didn't want this, but hey, I actually kind of like it. So, yeah, God tests our patience and He opens our minds and our hearts, and it makes it a lot easier to be less disappointed, um, and to handle our emotions better. When um when you ask God for something, don't expect a straightforward answer. Look for signs that something is right for you. If something's telling you, "Oh, this is wrong," then it's probably God's way of showing you that you shouldn't be doing something. Sometimes God leads us away from temptation by taking things away from us, so He protects us. Um, and so the one thing that I want in the future is to keep following Christ and knowing that I'm serving Him intentionally, knowing that my heart is right with Him, which is why He's got to be my number one. If I get married someday, I want my potential husband to put God above me, because the only way that plans work out the way they should is if God is at the center. And the only way God can be at the center is if you fully rely on Him and you bring every single one of your burdens to Him. Look for the signs that things are right in your life. Um, if anyone has any prayer requests, feel free to send them to me. I love praying for people. I love seeing how it affects people. Um, I'd love to witness to you. Um, just let me know and comment on this video. I'll be doing more videos in the future, and I'll let you know if I if anything gets published, or if I write anything in the future. and like start a blog and stuff. So you're in my prayers.